Hi everyone, and welcome today. We're diving into the fascinating and heartfelt story of Princess Diana, the people's princess, whose life, legacy, and unforgettable journey touched millions around the world. So, sit back, subscribe if you haven't yet, and join me as we explore the remarkable tale of Diana's courage, compassion, and enduring impact. I never thought I'd be writing one of these posts, but here I am. I've been lurking this sub for years, mostly for entertainment or the occasional chuckle at the insane stuff people go through. Never thought I'd be posting my own nightmare. And yeah, this is gonna sound insane. I'm not exaggerating when I say Princess Diana. Yes, that Diana became the tipping point in unraveling a web of lies my wife spun for nearly a decade. I'll get to that. But first, some background. I've been married to Eliza for 12 years. We met through mutual friends. She was loud, wild, magnetic. The kind of woman who could make every room feel like a movie set, and she was the star. I was the stable guy. Software engineer, bit of a bookworm, owned my own house, steady job. She said I grounded her. I thought she brought me to life. Perfect balance, right? The cracks started early, but I chalked them up to personality differences. Like the way she would exaggerate things, small stuff at first. Saying she had a master's when she didn't finish her undergrad. Claiming she used to date some minor actor from the Vampire Diaries. I checked, she didn't. She had this way of lying with such confidence, I started thinking maybe I was just forgetting details or being paranoid. We had arguments, of course. She'd say I was boring or emotionally constipated because I didn't do grand gestures or want to post our fights on Instagram like some people she followed. I worked long hours, paid the bills, took care of the dog, made her tea every morning. But it was never enough. She wanted fireworks, drama, movie moments. I gave her stability. Guess that wasn't what she really wanted. Fast forward to last summer, our 10th anniversary. I planned a quiet getaway to Scotland, her dream trip, or so she claimed. She was obsessed with castles, especially anything involving British royalty. Used to binge-watch documentaries about Diana like they were true crime thrillers. She called Diana the only real woman in a fake world. At the time, I thought it was harmless. But in Scotland, things got weird. She kept insisting we visit this obscure little church near Balmoral. Not a tourist spot. Not even well marked on maps. She got almost manic about it. And when we got there, she started crying. Not soft, romantic tears, ugly sobbing. Then she said something I'll never forget. This is where I felt her the strongest. This is where I realized everything had to change. I asked her what she meant. She just stared at the altar and whispered, Diana was right. The crown is poison. The marriage is a trap. I laughed it off, but something about the way she said it made my stomach twist. She'd never mentioned being unhappy in such clear terms. Then she turned to me and said, maybe I need to be like her. Maybe I need to escape before it's too late. It was chilling. That trip ended badly. She got drunk, accused me of being the problem, said I never let her be her true self. I told her she was scaring me, and she smirked and said, good. Maybe fear will wake you up. I didn't sleep well the rest of the trip. I thought that was rock bottom. Oh man, I had no idea what was coming next. We got back from Scotland, and things didn't go back to normal. At least not for me. Eliza acted like nothing had happened. She was suddenly nice. Like, eerily nice. Making me breakfast, complimenting my shirts, even trying to initiate sex more often, which, honestly, had dwindled to once every 3 months before the trip. And no, I'm not being dramatic. I kept track. Yeah, that's how low we'd gotten. Anyway, I wasn't buying it. Her mood swings had gotten to me. That moment in the church had burned itself into my brain. Maybe I need to escape. Who says that on a romantic anniversary trip? A few weeks later, I was in our home office trying to find a receipt for something she ordered on my Amazon account. She kept saying it never arrived, and I was like, did you check the order history? She said yes, but it wasn't there. Spoiler, it was. Not only was the order there, but so were dozens of other orders I hadn't seen, because she was using an email alias to hide them. Lingerie, men's cologne, a book called How to Date a High-Value Man. I'm not even joking. At first, I told myself, maybe she's just buying weird gifts. That denial didn't last long. I started going through old folders she'd kept in a locked drawer in the office. She'd always been weird about that drawer. Said it had tax stuff and girl things. I found the key taped under her old jewelry box. Classic. Like a damn sitcom. Inside were envelopes. One of them had no name, Just the word Diana scrawled across the front in blue marker. I almost didn't open it. Thought maybe it was one of her weird royal fan letters. I wish that's all it had been. Inside were printouts, screenshots of text messages between her and some guy named Troy. I didn't recognize the name. The texts weren't recent. They were from over 2 years ago. And they were intimate. Troy, you know you're my queen. I'd throw away the whole throne for you. Eliza, I wish I could be like Diana. Brave enough to walk away. Troy, then do it. Be her. I'll be your Dodi. For a moment, my hands went numb. I remember just sitting there, staring at the paper, thinking, what the hell am I looking at? Was this a game? Some role play? Was she cheating? I kept reading. There were mentions of me, of how he'd never understand her, how he doesn't even know the real me. She said I was her Charles. I almost puked. This wasn't just cheating. This was an emotional affair, at minimum. Probably physical, too. And the worst part? This had been going on for years. While I was walking the dog and paying the mortgage and fixing the garbage disposal, she was planning her dramatic royal exit with a guy named freaking Troy. She was trying to be Diana, but somehow, I was cast as Prince Charles. And just like that, everything I believed about my marriage felt fake. So, I didn't sleep that night. I just sat at my desk, staring at those printouts like they were crime scene evidence. In a way, they were. The death of my marriage, spelled out in emojis and poetic garbage like my heart aches for a life not lived. Who writes that? Is this a Lifetime movie? Anyway, I planned to confront her the next morning. I wanted to be calm, collected, not emotional. That lasted about 8 seconds. She was making coffee when I walked into the kitchen. I just held up the envelope with Diana written on it and said, "Want to explain this?" She looked at the envelope like it was a bomb. Then she blinked and gave me this sigh. Not shocked, not guilty, just annoyed. Her actual response? Well, so now you're snooping? That's toxic, Mark. Toxic. She called me toxic. I was so stunned I actually laughed. Like a crazy person. I said, you cheated on me. With a guy named Troy. You called me Charles. That made her flinch. For a split second, the mask cracked. But then, she went full Netflix original drama mode. Turned on the waterworks. Collapsed onto the couch like I'd just accused her of murder. You don't get it, she sobbed. I was suffocating. You never saw me. You were always working. I needed someone who understood my soul. I said, so your soul needed Troy? The guy who thinks he's Dodi Fayed? She screamed. Like, actual screamed. You're making fun of me. You never took me seriously. That's the problem. And just like that, I was the villain. Charles. The cold one. The emotionally unavailable one. Never mind the fact that I supported her through her spiritual awakening, her failed Etsy store, and her attempt to write a memoir about healing from a breakup she had before we met. Then she said it. At least Troy made me feel like a princess. I swear to God, I thought I was being pranked. Like someone was going to jump out with a camera crew and yell, "Gotcha." But no, she meant it. I stood there, completely numb, while she cried into her hands like she was the one being betrayed. And I realized something. She wasn't actually sorry. She wasn't even sad about what she did. She was sad she got caught before she could rewrite the ending. That was the moment something shifted in me. It wasn't rage. It wasn't grief. It was clarity. I didn't want to fix this. I wanted out. After the couch-crying performance, Eliza locked herself in the guest room and refused to talk. I went back to the office, sat down, and opened the folder again. I needed answers. Real ones. I felt like a detective trying to solve my own emotional homicide. So, I dug into Troy. In the texts, he mentioned his work a few times, something about the agency and being watched. At first I thought, okay, so this guy's a wannabe MI6 LARPer. But then I noticed his email address in one of the screenshots. And guess what? It had a university domain. Oxford. Bingo. I ran a reverse search using that email. Thank you, Reddit, for teaching me OSINT. And what did I find? Troy wasn't Troy. His name was actually Graham T. Whiteley, and he was Eliza's ex-fiancé from back in her early 20s. She told me he ghosted her after grad school. According to her, the guy disappeared off the face of the planet. Apparently, disappearing just meant moved to England and got a job lecturing about colonial literature. And apparently, they'd never stopped talking. There were emails going back 10 years. 10. And here's the kicker. Some of them were dated right around the time we got married. In one, she told him, "He's kind, but boring." You're the storm I never stopped craving. And this absolute tool wrote back, I'll wait forever for you, D. D. Not even Eliza. He was calling her Diana. So now I'm dealing with the fact that not only was my wife cheating, but she was cheating with a guy who thought they were doing some kind of royal reincarnation romance. She was playing Diana, and this dude was playing Dodie 2.0 from his little university office. But wait, it gets worse. In one of the more recent emails, she wrote, Scotland was the sign. I'm ready. Scotland. That freaking trip. She wasn't just having a meltdown. She was literally planning to leave me after that trip. That church wasn't just symbolic. She was going to tell me there. But something made her hesitate. Or maybe she wanted me to do the dirty work. Maybe she thought I'd be so fed up I'd leave, and she could walk away with her hands clean. I felt sick. The love of my life was treating our marriage like a season of The Crown. After I pieced together who Troy really was, her ex-fiancé turned British prince cosplayer, I couldn't sleep. I was wired. Jittery. I kept pacing the house like I was waiting for the floor to cave in. The next morning, she came out of the guest room acting like she'd just had a spiritual awakening. I was expecting more tears. Maybe begging. Maybe denial. Nope. Instead, she poured herself coffee and said, calmly, I think we should try polyamory. Dead serious. I blinked. You're joking. No, I've been doing research. Monogamy is outdated. It's a social construct. Maybe this is actually a chance for us to evolve. I swear to you, she said evolve, like cheating was a form of Pokemon transformation. She launched into this whole TED talk about how love shouldn't be owned, how maybe I could explore things too, and how it's not cheating if it's honest. Except she wasn't honest. She was sneaking around with some English professor who quoted The Little Prince in his emails. I said, so, after emotionally cheating on me for years, your solution is to keep the guy and keep me? She shrugged. Shrugged. Why not? I love you both differently. You're stable. He's passion. It doesn't have to be a binary. I genuinely thought I was losing my mind. It felt like being mugged, and then the guy says, hey, let's go in on a joint bank account. I asked her, and how long have you been planning this poly idea? Her answer? I've thought about it for a while. Diana was trapped, Mark. I don't want to be trapped. And that's when I realized something dark. This woman believed she was Diana. Not metaphorically. She was playing out a fantasy where she was the misunderstood wife of a cold, boring prince, and now she wanted to reclaim her power by building a new kind of fairy tale with two men. Spoiler, I wasn't going to be her Prince Charles and her butler. I didn't scream. I didn't throw anything. I just said, I want a divorce. Her face dropped. Like, mask off, cold shock drop. She didn't cry. She didn't argue. She just said, well, if that's how you want to handle it, handle it. Like I was overreacting to years of betrayal and manipulation. And then she walked out of the room like I had disappointed her. That was the moment I fully accepted it. She wasn't a victim. She wasn't lost. She was just a liar in a tiara, dressing up her selfishness with symbolism. And I was done playing her co-star. So after the poly speech and her blank reaction to the divorce bomb I dropped, I knew I couldn't just sit on my hands. I needed closure, or at least a face to attach to this twisted saga. That's when I decided to message Graham T. Whiteley, a.k.a. Troy, a.k.a. soul twin of Diana reincarnated. Now, I'll admit, I fantasized about confronting him dramatically, like storming into his lecture hall and exposing the whole affair in front of a bunch of startled British students. But instead, I just sent a calm, polite email from a burner account. Subject, let's have a grown-up conversation. Hi, Graham. Or should I say Troy? I'm Eliza's husband. Yes, the one she failed to mention while you were writing sonnets to her inbox. Since you've been an uninvited guest in my marriage for over a decade, I figured it's time we met man to man. Call it closure. Or damage control. Your call. He replied 6 hours later. One sentence. I didn't know she was still married. Liar. We went back and forth a few more times. He claimed he thought we had separated, that she told him our marriage was functionally over, and that I was controlling. He said, and I quote, she always said you were more of a roommate than a partner. I told him we had matching tattoos and just came back from a vacation 2 weeks ago. He didn't reply for 24 hours after that. When he did, it was just, I see I've been misled. I won't contact her again. Cold. Clinical. No apology. No real remorse. Just shutting the door quietly before I could kick it in. But here's the kicker. I checked. He did stop contacting her. Emails, messages, everything stopped. Which meant this whole time, she was the one chasing him. Feeding him half-truths, spinning stories about our marriage being a prison, and acting like I was some unfeeling automaton while she was the tragic heroine looking for a lifeboat. I wasn't mad at Graham anymore. I pitied the guy. He'd been suckered into her little tragic princess cosplay fantasy, just like I had. We were both background characters in the Eliza show, and the saddest part? She wrote all the scripts herself. That's when I started planning my exit. Not a messy one. A clean, quiet one. The kind that doesn't make headlines, but definitely ruins the season finale. You'd think after the whole polyamory proposal and me catching her in a long-distance romance with her ex-fiancé, she'd at least have the decency to take the L quietly. Nope. Instead, she pivoted fast. A few days after our conversation, I started getting weird texts from my sister. Hey, Eliza called. She sounded really upset. What's going on? She said you've been cold and distant for a long time. Is everything okay? My heart sank. I called my sister immediately, and she told me Eliza had casually mentioned we were having marriage struggles, and that I was emotionally unavailable and possibly depressed. She even implied that I'd become controlling lately. Controlling? Me? The guy who spent 2 years asking, "Hey babe, what can I do to make you happier?" The guy who organized our anniversary trip and gave her space when she locked herself in rooms to write in her journal. The guy who didn't even yell when he found emails that could melt steel. I was livid. But I kept calm. I explained everything to my sister, showed her the emails, the messages, the D nickname, the polyphase suggestion. And my sister just said, "Holy sh*T. I had no idea. Because of course she didn't. Eliza was good. She had this innocent, soft-spoken voice that made people believe she was just a misunderstood bookworm. People ate it up. But under that voice was a strategist, a manipulator who knew exactly how to weaponize sympathy. Later that week, my mom texted me the same thing. Why didn't you tell us you were struggling? Then came the guilt trip. Marriage takes work. Maybe you too should do counseling. I told her counseling wouldn't work with someone who was actively trying to rewrite history. It was insane. Eliza wasn't just trying to walk away clean. She was trying to rewrite the script, so I came out the villain. The cold, distant husband who pushed her into someone else's arms. She wanted to be Diana so badly, she was creating her own version of Prince Charles, and it was me. That's when I knew. If I didn't take control of the narrative, she'd own it. And everyone would think I was just some emotionally constipated guy who didn't understand his wife's needs. I started documenting everything. Screenshots, dates, emails, voicemails. I created a whole digital folder named Hurricane Eliza. Not to send to anyone, but just to protect myself. Because I no longer trusted her to tell the truth, even to my own family. And the saddest part? She probably thought she was doing me a favor by softening the blow. She wasn't just lying to people anymore. She was rebranding herself as the heroine of her own breakup, own personal Lifetime movie, complete with a tragic royal backstory, a noble British lover, and me cast as the cold, repressive husband who just didn't get her. But apparently, her fantasy script had alternate endings. One night, purely out of instinct, I decided to check her old iPad. She hadn't used it in months. I'd honestly forgotten it even synced with her phone until I opened iMessages and saw pages of conversations. Not with Graham. Not with family. This time, it was some guy named Miles. At first, I thought it was work-related. He was a photographer she'd met through a friend of a friend. But the tone? Way too familiar. You're radiant when you're sad. It's your most powerful form. Excuse me? Another gem. I hate that he's dimming you. You were born to shine, Eliza. You were never meant for a quiet life. Radiant. Shine. Quiet life. Are these men reading from the same married woman seduction manual? She told Miles that I stopped touching her and made her feel like a ghost. She wrote, "He doesn't see me anymore, but I feel like you do." Like Diana said, there were always 3 people in the marriage. I think I finally understand that. 3 people? What is this? A twisted improv class where she just adds new cast members whenever she's bored. And the kicker? These messages overlapped with the ones she sent to Graham. She was maintaining parallel affairs, saying the same poetic crap to 2 men, both of whom probably thought they were saving her from a life of cold gray silence, when really, she was just addicted to the attention. I didn't confront her right away. I was done giving her the satisfaction of reaction. Instead, I took screenshots, sent them to myself, and backed up everything in my Hurricane Eliza folder. Then I went out and bought myself a new phone, a new number, a new bank account. I told only my sister and my best friend what I was planning next. I even talked to a lawyer under a fake name. Because if Eliza wanted a dramatic climax for her tragic royal life story, I was about to give her the final act she never saw coming. So yeah, after Miles, I was done playing defense. No more reacting. No more passive screenshots. I was going to end it my way, clean, calculated, and with just enough sting to be memorable. Eliza had this weekly book club, right? Very proper. Very candlelit. Very wine and metaphors and faux deep sighs. It wasn't just about books. It was her little kingdom. She ran it like a duchess. And everyone there worshipped her, especially this one girl, Marla, who once said Eliza was a soft rebellion in a sharp world. Barf. So, I waited until the next Thursday. I knew what time the girls would start arriving because she always made me light the damn tea candles. This time, I didn't light a single one. I left the house a little before 6 p.m. and drove around the block. Waited. 6:45 p.m. I got that they're all here, babe. Can you grab some more Chardonnay? Text. That was my cue. I walked up the front steps, knocked once, and waited. She opened the door, smiling with that smug fake sweetness she saved for performance mode. Then her face froze. Because standing behind me was a process server I'd hired the day before, a woman who looked like she'd walked out of a courtroom drama and had zero time for nonsense. Are you Eliza? Last name? The woman asked. Eliza blinked. Yes. You've been served. And boom, papers in hand. Right there. In front of her entire book club. She didn't speak. She didn't cry. She didn't do anything. Just stood there as the ladies behind her, wine glasses midair, stared in total silence. You could practically hear the sound of her script collapsing. I turned and walked down the steps. Didn't look back. Didn't say a word. Got in my car and drove off like it was the final scene of a revenge movie. That night, I got 3 missed calls from her. A dozen texts. All of them the same brand of vagueness and faux confusion. Why are you doing this? We were supposed to talk. I didn't do anything. This isn't you. Please call me. And that last one really got me. I thought we could be civil. You know what's not civil? Lying to my face for years. Dragging our marriage into some over-romanticized tragedy. Building a castle of excuses out of cheap metaphors and British fairy tales. No, she didn't get civil. She got served. After I served her in front of the book club, which, let's be honest, might be the only book club in the world to experience live courtroom drama, Eliza went quiet for about a week. Not completely silent, just muted. Like she was recalibrating. I knew that silence wasn't peace. It was planning. And sure enough, the following Saturday she called me. I didn't answer. A few hours later, she texted. I left something for you. I hope you read it. When I got home, there was a package on the front porch. Wrapped in brown paper, tied with twine. Classic Eliza, trying to make even emotional manipulation look like a rustic Pinterest board. Inside, a handwritten letter. 10 pages. In cursive. 10. She called it a manifesto of misunderstood love. She opened with, like Diana, I was never destined for ordinary. I was chosen to feel too much in a world that numbs itself with routine. Then she launched into a whole narrative about how I'd never understood the depth of her emotional world, how I'd crushed the wild within her, and how Miles and Graham had only awakened parts of her that had long been silenced. She described our marriage as an arranged peace treaty between logic and longing. She actually wrote that. I'm not even mad. I'm just impressed she managed to fit that much melodrama into a single sentence. But the best part? At the end, she proposed we rebuild. She said maybe the divorce was just a symbolic death, and we could rise from the ashes, reborn as partners, not prisoners. Then she listed rules for a new beginning, which included open emotional journaling, read aloud weekly, separate bedrooms, to allow romantic tension to rebuild, mutual acceptance of emotional third parties, but no physical touch unless pre-approved emotionally. A once-a-month royal night, where we dress up and role-play our higher selves. I am not joking. I reread the list twice. Then I laughed so hard I cried. This woman wasn't trying to fix anything. She was trying to rewrite it. Turn our already cracked marriage into some kind of spiritual theater production starring herself, as the tragic heroine finally rising above societal expectations. All I could think was, who does she think she is? Princess F*** ing Diana meets eat, pray, love, asterisk. I didn't respond. I didn't even keep the letter. I took a picture of the list for my Hurricane Eliza folder and tossed the whole package in the trash. Because by then, I wasn't angry anymore. I was just done. After her manifesto fiasco, I thought maybe she'd finally realize the marriage was over. But nope. Eliza was still trying to control the narrative, this time targeting our mutual friends. She started posting on social media subtle but meaningful quotes about betrayal, finding one's true self, and escaping toxic ties. Her followers ate it up. Even some of our close friends started messaging me, confused about what really happened. Eliza told them I was emotionally abusive, neglectful, and refusing to support her growth. Basically, she painted me as the villain in her personal fairy tale. But here's the kicker. She underestimated how much people really knew. Our friends had seen her mood swings, the emotional roller coaster she put us on. They saw her secrets. The double DMs, the late night, I need space, texts, the disappearing acts. Slowly, the whispers started. Did Eliza really tell the whole truth? Was she maybe exaggerating? How real is that emotional abuse story? Her narrative began to crack. A few friends even messaged me privately, apologizing for doubting me. It felt surreal. One moment I was the bad guy in her story, the next I was the one people quietly rooted for. It wasn't perfect. I still felt the sting of betrayal. But the truth started winning, bit by bit. Just when I thought the whole nightmare was winding down, I got an unexpected message. From Miles, the other guy in her DMs. At first, I ignored it. I wasn't about to open a can of worms, especially from the other man. But curiosity got the best of me. He wrote, "Hey man, I don't know your side of the story, but I want you to know I never wanted to hurt anyone. I thought Eliza was unhappy and needed someone to listen. I'm sorry it turned out like this." That actually threw me off guard. I was expecting anger, maybe some smugness. But this guy sounded genuine, regretful. We ended up talking a bit over a few days. Miles shared that he felt manipulated, too. That Eliza had spun him a tragic story about feeling trapped and needing freedom. He said he thought he was helping, but in reality, he'd been dragged into her emotional chaos. That was a strange kind of closure. Not just for me, but maybe for him, too. Sometimes the people caught in the crossfire don't realize they're pawns until it's too late. It made me realize that betrayal isn't always black and white. There are shades of guilt, confusion, and brokenness on all sides. After the weird but honest chat with Miles, something inside me shifted. For years, I'd been stuck in this loop of anger, disbelief, and betrayal. I obsessed over every lie, every message, every performance Eliza put on. But talking to Miles reminded me, sometimes people aren't villains. Sometimes they're just lost. So, I made a decision. I wasn't going to let this story define me anymore. I started therapy. Not because I was broken, but because I needed space to untangle my feelings without judgment. I leaned on close friends who saw the truth and never questioned me. Most importantly, I stopped looking for Eliza in every corner of my mind. I deleted her number. I unfollowed her social media. I stopped reading her updates. I focused on me, my work, my hobbies, my future. And slowly, peace crept in. It wasn't instant. It wasn't perfect. But it was real. Looking back, I realized the hardest part wasn't the betrayal itself. It was how cleverly Eliza disguised it. She wasn't just cheating emotionally and lying. She built this entire persona of being sensitive, misunderstood, and deep. She used that to guilt-trip me, gaslight me, and rewrite reality. Here's what I learned. Sensitivity isn't a free pass for bad behavior. Being emotional or deep doesn't excuse manipulation or lies. Watch for constant victim stories. If your partner always paints themselves as the wounded hero while blaming you for everything, that's a red flag. Trust your gut when something feels off. If you feel like you're walking on eggshells, or if their stories never quite add up, pay attention. Emotional affairs often start with, "I'm the only one who understands them." That's how Eliza justified messaging two other guys. Set boundaries early. Don't let romanticized drama replace honest communication. Betrayal is painful, but sometimes it's the wake-up call you need. After everything, the lies, the betrayal, the emotional chaos, I finally started living for me again. It wasn't easy. Some days still sting. But here's what helped me move forward. Surround yourself with people who see the real you. Friends, family, whoever has your back without judgment. Invest time in self-care and hobbies. I got back into running, reading, and even started learning guitar. Small wins matter. Don't rush forgiveness or closure. Sometimes the best thing you can do is accept that some questions will never have answers. Therapy isn't just for crises, it's for growth. Talking to someone helped me process emotions instead of bottling them up. Trust your instincts. If something feels off, it probably is. Don't ignore red flags. Most importantly, don't lose yourself trying to fix someone else's broken story. You deserve honesty, respect, and love without drama masquerading as depth. Eliza was her own complicated story, but I'm writing mine now, free from lies, pain, and false princess fantasies. If you're reading this and going through something similar, know you're not alone. It hurts. It's confusing. But you can get through it stronger, wiser, and whole again. Stay strong, Reddit. Up.